series. It's your boy Osas. In today's episode, we are going to get started with a video calling and voice calling functionality. Obviously, as you saw in the completed version of our project that I demoed at the beginning of the series, we're actually able to make video calls and voice calls to our chat partners inside of a specific channel. And this beautiful functionality is going to be powered by StreamSDK, which is a third-party dependency like Firebase that provides us with a very neat abstraction over WebRTC and allows us to be able to build these very cool video and audio streaming functionalities. And in today's episode, we're going to be rolling in the SwiftUI SDK for Stream, and we're also going to be setting up our Stream SDK inside of our authentication manager. But before we even jump into the technical details of what we need to build, let me go ahead and show you what it actually looks like in the demo. So right now, I'm going to call this simulator from my actual physical device, and we're going to see an incoming call screen. And this is what that looks like. When we call it, we get an incoming call screen, and we can know it's Queen Padme that's calling us. And when we go right ahead and answer that bad boy, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera, turn off my mic, and mute this mic as well. And as you can see, we have this beautiful, video calling screen. And as you can see, we didn't even need to be inside of the specific channel for us to receive the call, which is beautiful, right? And we could do the same thing as well. We could call, Queen Padme from here. And let's say we call Queen Padme, right? It's going to be ringing. And inside of my physical device, I can see the incoming call as well. And when I go ahead and accept it, the same thing happened. So I'm going to hand the call. But yeah, this beautiful functionality, like I said, is going to be powered by StreamSDK, which is a very, very nice, beautiful third-party dependency. It just really abstracts a lot of this like tedious WebRTC functionalities that actually allows us to be able to build video or audio streaming functionalities. And you're going to see just how relatively easy this is to set up. The first thing we need to talk about is, as you can imagine, now we have two divergent services, right? We have Firebase and we have StreamSDK, and we need to authenticate both services for us to be able to actually make video calls. And so right now we're using Firebase authentication as our, as our authentication manager, or our authentication provider, and Firebase is responsible for creating and signing in our users, and it's, we've done that over the last couple of episodes. In today's episode, we also need to talk about how do we authenticate our Stream users, because Stream has a separate kind of users from Firebase. As you can imagine, they're two different providers. And so eventually we will need to find a way to synchronize this authentication flow, because right now, whenever we create a new user, we just store that user in our Firebase backend, in our authentication, backend, and that's it. Well, we need to also be able to store that user in our Stream backend as well, so that way they have the same user ID and the same authentication flow. But before we get to that, let's go right ahead and actually roll in Stream SDK into our project using Swift Package Manager. So I'm going to jump into Safari, and you could just go ahead and Google getstream.io, and you're going to get the first website that comes up here. And again, it's getstream.io. It's pretty simple. And let's see, we want to install our, the Stream dependency itself into our project. So I'm actually just going to say Stream Video GitHub, and I think that should give us the GitHub repo. And no, I'm going to say Stream SDK video get stream. This is the JavaScript one. Well, you know what? Let me just jump in this one. And let's see. I want to go to the documentation, or maybe even go to the SDKs and not just the documentation, the iOS SDK. And I want to look for the document. I want to look for GitHub. Yep. Jump on this. And yeah, this is the one we're looking for. And we probably could have just Googled it. But yeah, you want to look for the Stream Video iOS project. So it's called Stream Video Swift. And I'm just going to copy this link. You already know how we do it. We're going to jump into Xcode and use SPM to install this bad boy. So I'm going to go right up here, and I'm just going to go to my file, and I'm going to go add package dependencies, and I'm going to paste the link in this bad boy, and it's going to boot up Stream Video for me. And I'm just going to go right ahead and say add project, right? Or add package, and it's going to do its thing. And we're going to select the specific packages that we want from this Stream Video, SDK. So like I said, we're really going to be focusing on the SwiftUI SDK, because Stream also provides us with UIKit. So like, for example, if your project is in UIKit, it's relatively similar. If you're familiar with UIKit, it provides us with a nice abstraction for that as well. But we're going to be using SwiftUI as we've been doing all across this entire project. And let's go back to Xcode and let's see if it's completed. So it is. And like I said, we just need Stream Video and Stream Video SwiftUI. We don't really want the UIKit one, so I'm going to go right ahead and disable that. I don't really want that added to the project. So Stream Video and Stream Video SwiftUI, those are the packages that we want. And make sure it's added to your target. And I'm going to click Add Package, wait for everything to boot up, wait for Xcode to do its indexing and all that stuff. And once it's done, let's run our project in the simulator just to make sure, everything is compiling as expected. And then let us talk about how we need to, set up our actual Stream object, because we need to initialize it when our user is logged in, right? So for example, during auto login, we need to initialize it. During login with email and password, we would need to initialize it. And same thing with when we sign up a new user, right? But one thing at a time. It seems like our project is compiling, which is great. And let's just wait for everything to load to make sure nothing is crashing. Still waiting for Xcode. Come on. that first initial launch always takes a second, especially when you install a new package, and everything seems to be going good. We're still getting our Firebase FCM token printed on the console, which is awesome, guys. So let's go right ahead and actually set up our stream video. So I'm going to jump into my auth provider file, which if you guys remember, this is actually our authentication manager right here. And it's located in our, it's located in our auth file. So screen, auths, and I think under the services. Yep. So we have the auth provider. So there's a bunch of ways you could do this in your personal project. Obviously, it's pretty much based on what you want to do. For me, we could set up this StreamSDK inside of our main tab view, right? But I would prefer for us to initialize it right here inside of our authentication manager, right? And so I'm just going to go ahead and create an extension on our auth manager. And like I said, I always like to use extension just as a way to separate my code. And I'm just going to call this setup StreamSDK. So what do we want to do here inside of our authentication manager? I'm just going to create a private method right here, private func. And this is just going to be called setup stream video. And I'm going to say for current user. I think that naming game is pretty strong. That sounds pretty descriptive. Okay. And before we do anything, we could jump to the documentation together and let's see how it actually works. I'm going to go back here and let's see. I'm currently in the getstream.io. Let's start from scratch together just so you guys don't get lost. I'm just going to Google getstream.io and go to right here. And let's see. I want to jump to not pricing, developer. I want to jump to video and audio. And then I want to jump to iOS documentation. That should have everything we need. And let's see, there's a video and audio calling tutorial right here. Let's just jump into this bad boy. And what does this give us? It said we need to install our project. We already did. We need to add camera usage permission and microphone usage permission to our info.p list. Oh, thank you. I would have probably forgotten that. So let's jump back to Xcode. Before we even set up our stream video, let's do our due diligence and let's jump into our info.p list file. Let's go ahead and add the camera usage permission. So I'm going to click on this plus icon and just search for camera and space usage, or what is it called again? Camera, let's see, camera, or is it privacy? I think if I remember, it's privacy and then dash camera. So yep, camera dash privacy dash camera usage description. And I'm not going to bother putting anything in the string. It's just going to autofill that for us. So I'm going to click on this again. And this time around, I want to do it for the microphone. So I'm going to say privacy dash microphone. And I want the microphone usage description. So that bad boy right here. So make sure you have these two, else our project is going to crash because we're going to have to access the microphone and the camera. It makes sense if we're trying to make a video call or voice call. We need both of those resources. So with that added to our info.p list, let us jump back to our documentation and let's walk through this bad boy together. And right here, they give us a quick little demo of how to create and join a call. It looks like we need some sort of an API key. We need a token. We need a user ID. We need a call ID. Interesting. And it looks like they provide us with all of those bad boys right here. So we have a demo API key here, and we have a demo token and a demo user ID. And this is all going to be very handy for us. And we need to create a client. So this is the stream video, and we're going to have to pass in the API key as a parameter and a user, and then a token. And that seemed pretty easy to me. So let's go right ahead and take this one step at a time. So I'm going to jump back to Xcode, and inside of our setup stream video for current user, let's go right ahead and create a stream. Let's create a stream video. So I'm actually going to declare stream video up here as an optional publish property. And so I'm going to scroll all the way up here inside of our authentication manager, somewhere after our auth states. And we probably should use markers, but okay, it's okay. I'm just going to create a publish property. So I'm going to say published var. And I'm going to say stream video, and I might need to import the stream video into this bad boy. So let's scroll up here and let's import stream video. And let's scroll down here. And so stream video is going to be of type stream video, right? This is the main class for interacting with the stream video SDK. Sounds pretty intuitive to me. And what do we need to do? Let's scroll all the way down now and let's go initialize the stream video. So I'm going to make it optional at first, and then we're going to initialize it inside of the setup stream video method. So what do we want to do, right? How do we initialize this? Well, let's just go right ahead and just assign it. We're just going to say stream video is equals to stream video, and let's see what it takes from us. So it has a bunch of properties: API key, user token, video configuration, push notifications configuration, and token provider. We're going to deal with the push notification configuration and the token provider later, but for this episode, let's focus on the API key, the user, and the token. Let's just make sure everything is working. So I'm going to inline this, and I'm going to create, let's just go right ahead and create API key. So I'm going to say API key is equals to what? Well, they gave us this test API key right here. Let's go right ahead and copy that bad boy. Let's jump here. Let's replace it. API key is that. And I'm going to pass this API key right here. So we need to create a user. This is what I was talking about earlier in the video. Remember, this is not referring to a Firebase user, guys. This is referring to a stream user. So we need to sort of merge our Firebase user and our stream user. They need to be almost one and the same. And the way we're going to do that, you're going to see that in the next episode, is by using Firebase Cloud Functions and using the same user ID for both objects. And so the user right here, this is the username, this is the user ID. So let's copy that user ID and let's go ahead and create a user. And this is again the stream object user. So it takes in an ID and it takes in a name. So I'm going to pass in the ID. Do we have a user ID right here? Yep, it's this one right here. So whatever that is on your hand, that's what that's going to be. Let's paste that in there. And I want to also pass in a name. So I'm going to pass in this name. Where is the username? Doesn't really give us a name, so does it really matter? I guess it doesn't matter. Let's just paste in Martin just for consistency's sake, like they're doing. And what else do we need? Let's pass in that user. Remember, we need a user token, right? This is where the authentication comes into place. But since we haven't set up our authentication for StreamSDK yet, let's just use the test token as well. So I'm going to go right ahead and create a token here. I'm going to say let's token is equals to, I believe they have a user token object, and we can use the one that has the string, literal, or just the raw value. And I'm just going to paste that bad boy here, but that is super long, but we'll deal with that later, guys. Let's just take this token, pass this token right here, so everything is good. So we've just initialized our stream object. Let us put a print statement down here so we know what we're working with. And as always, I'm going to take this, lock emoji, paste it here, and I'm just going to say stream video setup completed with user token. And the reason I'm printing the user token is because in the next episode, this is going to come in clutch for us. We're going to need to know what's really going on. And I'm just going to paste in that. And I think everything looks pretty good for now. So the question is, where do we call this setup stream video, right? Because like I said, this is only for the authenticated state, right? And we need to think. So we can either call it inside of this fetch current user method, or ideally, honestly, I would like to create another separate method down here, right? And this separate method is just going to be responsible for setting up, and I'm just going to call it setup. I just want to call it setup current user, essentially. And let's see, current user, and this is of type user item. The user item is our own data model. So I'm just going to say self.setup stream video for the current user that we're getting from the setup method. And then I would also like to do this auth state here. So remember, whenever we log in, we actually use combine to send a publication into our app, right? An app-wide publication that changes the authentication states. And so this is going to be the logged, this is going to be the logged in current user, okay? And honestly, that even reads nicely. That's so funny. That reads so nicely. Setup stream video for current user, auth state that send logged in current user. Awesome. So where do we want to call the setup method now? That's the real question, right? And I'm also going to go right ahead and remove this bad boy. Or does it really matter? Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and remove this bad boy from here. It's either that. Let's think for a second. Do I even want to be calling this setup method all over the place? It's going to be doing the same thing anyways. So I think I'm wrong. I think I should it's either, let's scroll up here for a second. So inside of our login, we're calling our fetch current user method, right? Which is great. And inside of our auto login, we're also calling our fetch current user info method. And inside of our create account, we're not really calling fetch current user. Okay, I think I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove this setup method. Yeah. Let's remove the setup method. It sounds redundant. And let's go call this setup stream video. So where do we need to call it? Let's start from auto login. So during auto login flow state, so auto login, fetch current user, and then I'm going to say, setup stream video. So I'm going to turn this, I'm so indecisive right now. Do we want to turn this into like a completion handler, this fetch current user info? Yeah, I think let's do that, guys. So I'm going to uncomment this. I'm sorry. And let's turn this fetch current user information method into a completion handler. And I'm just going to make it escaping. And it's going to return a user item, which, as you already know, is the logged in user item. And we got to return a void because that's just the way, closure syntax work. And let's see. So now instead of calling the self.authState login current user from here, I'm just going to take completion. And the completion is going to be my logged in user. And this is yelling at us, which doesn't make any damn sense. We don't need to put a weak self in here anymore because we're just passing it into the completion handler. So what else is going on here, guys? Let's take this fetch current user info. Let's run our project. We should get a bunch of error first and foremost because we've changed the signature of fetch current user info. So I'm going to click on this. And for this one now, it's going to return for me the current user. So all I got to do is just remove that. And now it should return weak self in because I want to break the closure. And it should return the current user. Or is it this way? I think it's like this. Current user in. Yep. And it should stop yelling at us. Okay, so now in the auto login, once we've auto logged in and we'll fetch the current user, this is where we're going to set up our I'm just going to call the setup method. So I'm going to call setup and I'm going to say current user. So remember the setup method that I changed my mind like 3 times or 4 times on. This is what's going to be responsible for changing the login state of our application and also for setting up stream video SDK for us. So that looks pretty good to me. And I'm going to make this an optional self because, we have this weak self breaking the retain cycle. So I'm going to copy this. So the auto login, so we need to do the same thing inside of our logged in state as well. So I'm just going to paste that in here. Same thing, we set up after we're done fetching the current user info. Now, what about for the create account method? Well, remember the create account method, we're not really fetching the current user info anymore because we already have the current user info right here. We're actually just saving it to the database. So here, we need to just directly call, I'm just going to directly call setup method here. I'm not going to do the logged in state here. I'm just going to say setup, new user. Honestly, that reads so nice too. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I think that's all we need to do, guys. So let's go right ahead. Let's run our project. Let's put a print statement here. I'm just going to put a print statement here, right? Just so we see what's going on in our authentication manager. Let's go ahead and run our project really quickly on the simulator. Everything should compile. And let's see what stream video does. Are we actually able to set it up? And right now, it says, oh, right up here, it says, stream video setup completed with user token, and then it gives us the user token, which is awesome. Okay, so it seems to be good. Now we need to go test this. Okay, and the next thing I want us to do is I'm going to jump into our main tab view, guys. So the main tab view is right out here. I'm going to open it in a new tab. So the way StreamSDK works when it comes to video calling and voice calling is, like I said, they provide a nice abstraction over WebRTC, right, which is for video streaming and voice calling as well. But what they do is they give us two options. One, we could either create our own video calling components, so we could handle the actual UI side if we wanted to. But as you can imagine, that comes with a whole bunch of work. The second option that we have is we can actually just use their built-in components that they already gave us. So like when I was doing this demo just now where I was calling someone in the completed version of the project, right? This is actually their default components that they give us. So we don't really need to do anything, right? We just use their built-in components and we're good to go. And honestly, this looks pretty good to me. So I'm not going to bother trying to build UI components. And that's like, what we're going to focus on. And so for us to do that, we're going to use something known as call view model. So I'm going to jump back to their introduction for the video and audio documentation. And they have something called call view model. And this call view model is essentially what allows us to be able to use their built-in components. And let's see, if we scroll all the way down here, not call kits, not that. Let's see, camera usage, not quick installation. I might have to search for it. Client and authentication. It's been a while since I've been in the documentation. Did they change this? Because one, they have a call view model. Yeah, UI customization. They have, we don't want to customize the UI. We want to use the built-in UI. Let's see, the view model. I think this is the one we're looking for. Okay, so under the UI components, they have an overview. And again, feel free to read this documentation if this is like the part of the series you're actually interested in, because they have a lot of nice gems in the documentation. You could use this video as a supplement to that. So like inside of their view model section, look at this. They have a call view model, which is a stateful component. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's just a basic SwiftUI view model. It's a state object, which means you can react to things, you can listen to things because they have a bunch of published properties inside of it. So you can use this call view model to start calls like this, and look at how clean that is. You just say view model, start call, you pass in the type of call, you pass in the call ID, you pass in the members, and you want it, like if you want to allot the users or not, and that's it. And so by using this view model, you can essentially just use the built-in components. And that's honestly what I want to do, to be honest with you guys. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that, how we're going to use that to set it up. And so I'm going to jump back to Xcode. And like I said, inside of our main tab view, I'm going to create that, call view model. And again, this is the stream video SwiftUI components now. So I'm going to import stream video SwiftUI module. And I'm going to go right ahead and create a state object up here, state object, private var, and we're going to call it call view model. And it's just going to be the call view model. And again, this is coming from stream video SwiftUI package that we installed earlier. So how do we use this call view model? So the way they did it is we could just attach it as a modifier, right? And it's just going to handle everything else. Just attach it as a modifier to your SwiftUI view, and it's going to know when to present the view. It's going to know when to end the view. So like, for example, when the call is incoming, it's going to like listen for that. And they just do a lot of nice work with this. That's why I really like StreamSDK compared to like Sandbird or some of the other options that are out there. They really do provide very nice options for developers, especially modern, iOS applications using SwiftUI. So we're just going to attach this modifier right here, modifier. And we're just going to call it, let's see, call view model. So we need to create it, call view model, or call modifier. I think that's what I'm looking for. They have something called a call modifier right here. And the call modifier takes in a view model, and it's just going to be this call view model, which is initialized right here. Pass that in there, and that's all we need to set up. But I'm going to take it one step further, right? I want to actually take this call view model because I would like for us to be able to access this call view model from inside of our chat room screen, because it's that call view model that allows us to be able to like not only make phone calls, but listen for phone calls when they're coming in, right? And inside of our chat room screen, I want to use that call view model to be able to start calls like this. So I'm going to inject it as an environment variable into our tab view, because remember our tab view components, this is the authenticated states, which is the update tab screen, the yada, 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 you get it, right? This is our, let's see, our channel tab screen, which is the, this bad boy right here. This is our channel tab screen. So if we inject it as an environment object into this tab view, all of our authenticated views will actually have access to this call view model. And that's exactly what I'm just going to do. I'm just going to say environment object, and I'm going to pass in this call view model right here. And that's the bulk of our work. Let's run our project, make sure everything is still working. If something crashes, that means we're doing something wrong. Let's see. Let's wait for this bad boy. Everything compiled. It looks pretty good to me. We're still getting our print statements. That is awesome, guys. All right, the final bit of this tutorial or this episode is I would like for us to test everything we just did. Let's make sure it's actually working. So inside of our chat room screen, I would like for us to be able to make a phone call, right, or a video call using this button. So when we click on this button, let's see if that call view model actually gives us a call. So I'm just going to Command Shift and O, and let me remove some of the spacing right here. I'm just going to Command Shift and O, and I'm just going to jump into my chat room screen. Okay, so our chat room screen, if we kill our simulator, resume our SwiftUI preview, I believe we have toolbar items that actually have the call icon, and this is right here, actually the trailing nav items, so which is pretty simple. Okay, so the trailing nav items have this, these two buttons right here. That's pretty straightforward to me. Now let's first go ahead and actually get this, this call view model that we just injected. Remember, it's an environment object, and if you guys have done SwiftUI before, this is pretty easy. All we got to do is just say environment object, private var, and I'm just going to say call view model because I know this should exist in this environment. It's going to be of type call view model. But now I need to import, I need to import Swift. No, what is it called again? StreamSDK, Stream Video, SwiftUI. And this is going to crash on us because we don't have this call view model inside of our preview, right? So we need to inject it temporarily. Oh, it's not crashing, really? It really should, though. But let me just go ahead and inject it here. I'm pretty sure it will crash. Environment object, and I'm just going to pass in the call view model because we already said it will exist inside of this, this specific hierarchy. Now it's crashing on us. Gee, am I actually legit? Well, never mind. Really? I'm going to remove it. Am I missing something? Anyways, guys, it's not crashing, so cool. Let's actually focus on what we're trying to do. So I'm already accessing this call view model from our environments, and let's go ahead and use it to make a phone call. So down here, let's just create a quick private method, and let's just call it start video call, and I'm just going to say, the first thing I want to guard against is if there's no call anyway. So the call view model actually has a call object that you can command and jump into it. And this is the actual call view model that we're accessing, as you can see. And we have a call property in here. You can read through your code. It's, it's fairly big, but, you can make sense of it if you take the time to read through it. But they have a call property inside of their call view model. And I'm just going to make sure there's no call before I can try to create a new call. And I'm going to return out of the scope if there's a call. So what do I want to do next? Well, I would like for us to be able to say something like call view model, right? I just want to start a call. And it's going to ask me for the call type and yada, yada, yada. So let's see. Let's go use that demo. So right here inside of the build an iOS video calling tutorial that, the page we had open earlier, let's take the call ID. Let's use this call ID. And I'm going to paste in this call ID. And what call type are they using? Let's see here. What is the call type? Just default. So I'm just going to say default. And then we need to pass in the members. And let's see how he's doing is. Where is the members? I suppose I'm just going to pass in, let's see, participant.count. I suppose I'm just going to pass in, I'm just going to create a member. I'm just going to create a user. So let's see, I'm going to jump back to our auth provider and I'm going to copy this user right here. And I'm going to jump back there and I'm going to paste it here. And let's go back to that documentation and just validate what we're doing really quickly. So create a user object. You typically want to sync these with your server-side integration. Yeah, we're going to do that in the next episode. The user... yeah, we just did. Okay. Where does it start a call? So it starts a call with a call type, tries to join. Well, I want to use the call view model. I don't want to do all that work. And let's see. Well, let's just go ahead and try to make a call with this guy. So I'm going to have to go up here and import stream video itself as well, because the user object for them exists inside of the stream video module from what I've discovered. So now let's take this user. And let's just create a simple array here. Let's just pass it right here, just a single user. And it's going to yell at us because user is not of type member. Okay, let's do a quick conversion. Okay, let's go ahead and create members. I'm going to say let members, basically the members in the specific call, right? Let's call it call members. I think that's a better description. And call members is what? So let's just say, ideally what I want to do is actually something like channel dot, members excluding the currently logged in user. And then I want to start a call with those people. So I'm trying to see what the members that he's jumping in here inside of this tutorial is. Let's see. Let's jump here. Yeah, I mean, I want to demo this. I want to so we have a user ID, we have a call ID. And do I just start the call with that one user? Just say call, create the join. Okay, I mean, I guess we could use this before we use so let's try this. Let us try this really quickly. Okay, so let's actually go ahead and let's join a call instead of trying to start a call. So I'm going to say view model, the join call, and the call type is going to be default, and the call ID is going to be this bad boy right here, which again, I'm getting the call ID from this tutorial right here. So whatever this call ID is inside of this tutorial, that's what you should use. And let's go ahead and run our project on the simulator. Actually, I'm tripping. We need to call this start video call method, right? So inside of my trailing navigation item right here, this button that has the video system name, I'm just going to go right ahead and say start video call right inside of that closure. Click on the play button. Let's run our project and let's see what happens when we actually try to join a call, right? And I'm going to jump here and I'm going to join the call from the web. So it's going to ask for a bunch of information. I'm going to say yes. No, I don't want you to access my camera. Let us start this call from here. We're in the web version. And let's turn on our, that's cool. Okay, let's turn on our mic. So everything is working. Okay, awesome. Now let's go join the call from our, simulator. So I'm going to go on the chats. I'm going to jump in this chat room. And again, just for demo purposes, click on this call button and let's see what happens. Allow. Oh, we're live, guys. Look at that. Look at that. So right here, it says Queenland. That's the user. And on the web, let me turn off the mic. The web is so right here, I'm logged in as Martin, and the reason I know is because look at this right here. The user ID that we created, or the username that we created for this one is Martin, while the username for the guy on the web is Queenland. So everything seems to be working, guys. Our initialization was successful, and I'm gonna go right ahead and unmute it. Yep, it's working. I'm getting an echo because it's coming from both. It's coming from here and it's coming from over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and hand out of this. Everything seems to be working. When I jump out of it, look at this. There's one member left in the web version, and let's say, for example, I joined from the mobile. What if I hand it from the web? What happens? I'm just going to leave call. When I leave the call, now it's only one user left inside of the simulator version. So let's go ahead and hand the call entirely, and that looks pretty good to me. And I'm going to jump out of this. So that was successful. And again, let's validate it really quickly. Again, let's just call this, James Bond. Let's change the name and let's see what happens. Let's go right ahead and run this. Actually, it's not even from here because I'm not even using the user here. I'm tripping. So the reason it has Martin is inside of our authentication provider. If you remember this setup stream video, the username is actually Martin. So if we change the username to something like James Bond, right? And let's go ahead and run the project and let's try this again one more time. And this time around, I'm going to put the simulator and my Safari browser side by side so we could see what's going on. And let's join in here. I'm going to click on join call again from here. Click on, allow for microphone, stop call from the web. I'm going to skip the intro. Don't care. Okay, now let's go make a call. Again, remember, we're using the same call ID. I'm just making sure, I'm just testing that our StreamSDK is initializing successfully. So if we click on this, video calling icon, look at that, we joined it. So let's mute the mic. That looks pretty good. If we click on that, look at that. We're James Bond and Queen Volan, or however you pronounce that. And that looks pretty good, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over here as well. That was actually successful. That is awesome, guys. Give yourself a pat on the back. We have successfully set up our stream video. In the next episode, though, we do have a couple of work left for us. So the first thing, like I said at the beginning of this episode, was we need to talk about authentication. In the next episode, I would like for us to be able to make, actual video and voice calls from our chat room screen. Because right now, we're just joining a call. If you see that right there, we're just joining a call, right? In the next episode, let me comment this out. Let's go ahead and set up our stream authentication. So we're going to go and create a stream account in our actual stream dashboard. In the stream website. And then I would like for us to be able to make video calls, make voice calls. And also when we create a new Firebase user, I would like for us to also create a new stream user. And likewise, when we delete a Firebase user, delete a stream user. And also this authentication token right now, we're using a stub token inside of our authentication provider. We're just using this token that we got from the stream video website, which is this bad boy right here. And again, I'm following the iOS video calling tutorial. That's what I'm doing right here. And I'm just using this stub token that you're giving us, which allows us to be able to join that call that we just joined. And in the next episode, we need to start creating our own token, right? We need to create a token that's actually tied to our Firebase user, right? So if we jump to our Firebase console, each token should actually be tied to one of our users in our actual backend, right? And so we're going to talk about how to set up our authentication provider in the next episode and how to tie that to our Firebase token. And that would allow us to consequently be able to make video calls and voice calls specifically within our applications with chat partners in a specific channel. Thank you for watching as always, guys. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.